Is it saying? Hello and welcome to the regular Friday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. Tonight we'll be discussing Qarabag, and we'll also be doing a preview of Man United last thing. There's about 10 in the chat at the moment. No, it's Friday night and people going out, but welcome to those of you watching us. We've got no one commenting in the chat at present. So what I'll do is I'll introduce our wonderful guest straight away, and then we'll get, without further ado, we'll get into the show. Alan, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Adrian?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine, especially after last night's win, and I went to the game. So, yeah, it was all the more enjoyable experience, whether it's raining or not. If you win, right, it helps.
Right. Hopefully, you didn't have too much trouble getting into the stadium.
No, I didn't, because I'm local. I'm only a mile and a half away, but they had to delay the kickoff to 35 minutes. Because even the Qarabag coach had to stall. They said their players walked. I don't know how much truth is in these stories because their manager was moaning a bit afterwards. If it's true, it's fair enough, right? So yeah, if it's true, so good evening, Graham, in the chat, and Soren, how are you?
I'm good. Buzzing after the win, and really looking forward to things coming up.
Right then, okay, we'll get into the game. I'll go at the banners now. Where are we? Right, this was our starting lineup. It was different to the one I picked, and probably everybody picked a different lineup. Alan, did you expect Ange to go so? I mean, I think it's a strong lineup, so I'll say, did you expect Ange to go so strong? There was a lot of and ahhing in the community.
I mean, I guess there were certain changes I would have made. I wasn't excited when I saw Davies back there. But there's little I can do about that, or Ange can do about that at this point, because I would have rather Jed Spence than Davies, but Jed Spence is not available because he didn't pick him for the Europa squad. So, and I don't know how great it is to have both Bergvall and Gray at the same, starting. Maybe one or the other. That's just my preference. That's how I felt at the start. It was a little. I was just a little concerned about, again, a little bit about the defense and maybe a little bit about the midfield. But overall, a pretty good squad.
It shows, though, doesn't it, Soren, that we're going to go strong in this competition. One, because mainly I think because if you win it, you get a Champions League place.
I think it didn't surprise me that we went strong, because I think being the opening match, he wanted a result, and just to get that ball rolling, get the confidence in the squad, and we're at home. So I think it was quite important to do a fairly strong team. And let's not forget that, they're not a bad team. Just because we don't really know who they are, then doesn't mean that they're not a great team. was it quarterfinals last year? Held Leverkusen almost.
Yeah, they made the last 16, and then
Yeah.
the league this year. They've played 6 games, won 5, lost 1, scored 16, conceded 4. So depends on which. If part of the divide of the Spurs community, others will say, "Well, you won 3-0 with 10 men because they were rubbish," but I still think it was a good performance myself. Like,
I think it was a great performance, and look, you're not going to get much negativity from me. I'm there to support my team, and if we win, it's all good. I don't see the point in picking the team apart just because we've won. The starting lineup didn't surprise me too much. I kind of expected maybe 1 or 2 different players here and there, but I think it was more or less what I kind of expected. So yeah, I was quite happy with the team.
I think what I've seen online basically is people were saying, even though we went, "Oh well, I wouldn't have started Davis," you know what I mean, or whatever, and so they were sort of saying that. I personally wanted to see VDV and Dragusin play a whole game.
Yes.
We'll talk about Dragusin later, because I think as a pairing of centre-backs, right, you need them to get used to playing with each other. And that hasn't happened yet. And it unfortunately didn't happen yesterday, although VDV played very well. So, and we all want to see Bergvall as well, don't we? We want to see more of him. I needed game time in the legs, so I get that, right? Oh, right, you were going to say something. I thought you were going to say something. Sorry.
You froze. That was off for me. You froze anyway.
Oh, did I? Well, okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so I didn't expect Son to start. I thought he'd be rested, personally, my own opinion. I thought Solanke and Johnson would play. And then I thought, to everyone's fear, we thought Werner might start, but we're all hoping sort of Mikey Moore started if Son didn't. But the back four, I did pick it. I picked the back four. The midfield I didn't pick, because I think I had Kulu in midfield, with Bergvall, because the reason I wanted with Kulu in midfield instead of Sarr was, and I'm thinking half time he's going to make changes, right? So this is why I'm picking a team, because you're not picking 11 starters, because with Ange, he's going to make changes at half time or on the hour mark. And I just thought, like, Kulusevski would have, mind you, Bergvall can look after himself. He showed it in the 2 second half performances against Bayern Munich. But just being there alongside him would have given him strength. So I sort of went with Bissouma because he needed a leg time. And I thought I would have gone with that. And my front three wasn't Son, Solanke and Johnson. I think it was Werner, Solanke and Johnson, because that's the way I thought it would go. Yeah. What was your what different players did you have in your mind, Al?
I think I would have rather... I would have rested Son. A, he's not been playing great, and B, I think he just if he's going to rest his players for the bigger Manchester United game, rest your strong player like Son. I personally could have seen Kulu up there on the left. He is a lefty. I don't know why he couldn't have been up there. He could have started Mikey Moore. I would have rather seen one of the two of them. And after having watched the game, I think you could have still done that, and it probably would have been more impactful. I guess that's about it. Really, with the squad that he's chosen, that's pretty much it. If he wanted to rest all of the players, albeit I probably would have had Porro in, but he wanted to rest Porro. So
it's good that we've got options now. What team did you pick, Soren? Did you?
The only real differences I had was probably looking at Werner on the left rather than Son, and I kind of thought Bentancur would be in midfield rather than Bissouma, in the notion of Bentancur might not be playing sooner rather than later. So I just thought, it's probably a time to bring Bentancur in and swap him around the 60, 70 minute mark, let Bissouma. But look, Bissouma played fantastic. So I think the only difference then I would have had then would have been Davis on the left with Van der Ven and Dragusin, obviously. And I just like we've said, I just can't fathom the Jed Spence. I think Jed Spence should have been starting at right back. I just don't understand the logic behind that. So other than that, yeah, exactly how I thought it would be.
Right, let's talk about this guy. Right, what a great start to a football match. Yeah, you couldn't make it up. Typical Spurs in a way. You know, we get to 7 minutes to 7 minutes. Well, I'll voice my opinion last. Alan, what did you make of it?
I'll touch on what you said. I'll mirror what you said. I was very excited to see Dragusin with VDV. My personal belief about Christian Romero is that with teams like Real Madrid knocking on his door in the coming seasons, most my guess is like Bale before them and Modric before him. He probably would go at some point. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity. The players he would be playing with are just top notch. So very likely Dragusin and VDV will be our primary two center backs. So I really wanted to I really want to see them play together. With regard to the red card, he obviously needs more training. To me, it's because he lost his head. I mean, he was the last man, so he has to know that it's a red card. You know, there was never any doubt, but doing what he did was going to result in a red card. And he really let the team down because that's a rookie mistake, and you just can't make those kinds of rookie mistakes in the Europa League games, in any game. Well, in any game really, but definitely in Europa, where we're trying to make the top 16. He really just let the team down, and it was a stupid mistake. I think if he had it to go back and do it again, he probably wouldn't do it. But it made me a little concerned about how he let maybe it was an emotional response. I don't know, because he kind of got caught off right out of position, and he, I think, tried to make up for it by making some amazing tackle, but not realizing the position he was in, and it screwed up everything very early on. And everyone looked, when I was looking at the other players' reaction, and they all looked like deer in headlights. You know, because I don't think that even they were kind of like, what the hell just happened? Why did you do that? Because it really did mess up Ange's initial plans. You know, we had to pull Bergvall off, which was a shame, because I think for the 7 minutes that he was playing, he was doing well.
He should have let the player go, really, because rather than reduce us to 10 men, if that was against the Premier League side, let the player go. If they score a goal, you're not out of the game. You're not out of the game. You're just 1-0 down. So, absolutely. This is where I think being 22 comes into it, you know. You've got to have that goal to think, sorry. The actual sending off to me, I thought was preventable, because when you had Juninho, was it, at the forward at the front? He miscontrolled the ball. He couldn't even, shouldn't have gone to the red card. It was his mistake because of his body shape and positioning. What did you make of it? The instant before he gets sent off, what led to the sending off?
I just think it was a calamity. His concentration wasn't there. Obviously, it was miscontrol of the ball. And like you say, I mean, thinking, had it been any other player other than Juninho, I don't think he would have done it. I just think because he is the biggest threat, he just didn't want to let him go. And you sort of, you just wanted to scream at him just to run alongside him, because I'm pretty sure Van der Ven would have got back. If he's running alongside Dragusin, and, you know, just whether he's holding him back a little bit or Van der Ven would have probably got back. But let's look at it another way. Had he not been sent off, we may not have seen the game we saw and the result we had. You know, it's all hindsight now, but look, he's a stupid, stupid boy. That's cost us out. It'd probably be a 3-match ban, is it? And
it's not violent, is it? It might
well,
only
no,
be
but it's a straight red, isn't it? So it wasn't 2 yellow.
You
So I'm
know what?
assuming
I'd have to check on that. As much as I delve into tactics and stats, I mean, like
I don't think it'll be a 1-game match because that's generally for 2 yellow cards, isn't it? So I think it'll be more than a 1. So it'll either be 2 or 3, I would expect. And you know, these are the games where we wanted them 2 together. So you know, it put
and
a
for
lot
game
of
time for him as well. That spoils it for game time for him as well.
Exactly. You know, I think he's just been absolutely right. I mean, I would like to think had it happened 10 minutes later into the game, he probably wouldn't have done the same thing. But because it's right at the beginning of the match, and I thought it would be. And get well soon, Phil.
Get well soon, Phil.
I just think it's one of those that just didn't need to happen, but it did, and we move on. I don't want to talk about him anymore.
Let's talk about the player a little bit more because he's sort of been a bit hit and miss. I mean, I watched him in the Euros, and he looked good in the Euros. There was one time he got caught with a striker on the goal line, and he sort of like was a bit out of position, and which I'll come to later. And the striker from the byline, he just pulled the ball back in front of the goal, and whoever it was, I can't remember if Romania won this game, but someone scored, you know, and that was preventable in my opinion. But then I've looked at his positional play. Now he's young, so I don't want to go in hard against him. I looked at it against Newcastle when we conceded the second goal. You can say like Romero should be marshalling the defence, and this is why I wanted him to play with VDV and Romero more. This is why he needs to play with those 2 centre backs more, because he was the one who played everyone on side of that second Newcastle goal, when even your doggy should have been tighter to Murphy in that. But like what I'm seeing was because he was facing towards their goal and our other 3 defenders were facing towards their goal, he didn't seem to know whether to stick or twist, right? And to me, I'm not blaming him for that. To me, because you can't, because you haven't seen enough of him. I'll judge him at the end of the season, like Ange and a lot of other players, right, that have come into the side. But there's that missing cohesive element of the back four as a unit. When he's in there, we look a bit more. It's a bit disjointed and not settled. You know, Romero and VDV, they know what they're doing. They're given their roles in the training ground. I mean, like, I mean, at least as Nita says, it's only a 3-match ban in the Europa. But does that mean we have to play him at home against Man City to give him game time? You know, and give him game time in league. They're going to get it. They're going to get it because, like, you know. So, what's your overall take on what you've seen so far of Dragusin, Alan? Do you like the look of him? Or?
You know, he has moments where he does very well, and I think he's a player that needs time. He's obviously lacking in game time in it, and there are some players that even with a lack of game time can have good appearances, and then there are players that need more time on the pitch, and their play reflects that. And I think Dragusin is in the latter category where he needs more time on the pitch to get better. He just does. He's not making. He's obviously not getting out of training what he needs, and the only place he's going to get it, I guess, is on the playing field during a real game. Which, unfortunately for him, he's behind VDV and Christian Romero, who aren't going to be giving up their positions anytime soon. But I think with Ange, the way Ange rotates the squad, or will have to rotate the squad, we probably will see more of Dragusin this season. There's a lot of games. There's a lot of cups. So I do think that we're going to see more of him. My only concern is his lack of experience is very evident. He makes a lot of rookie mistakes that, unfortunately, where he's at can cost us goals. Last night, I thought he should have just let the guy go. If it's the last man, you don't go after them, because the red card is the big problem. I would take a goal over a red card, a straight red, because now it just totally messed the team up. Luckily, we salvaged it because we did a great, the team came together and Ange managed it well. But it's still 10 versus 11.
What's your take on Dragusin, what you've seen so far, Soren?
I think it's like we've said, for a national team, he looked good, but you still saw some mistakes when he was playing nationally. So it doesn't surprise. He's a young defender. I mean, we go back and we look at Romero when he first came. It was reds, it was yellows, left, right, and centre. We getting caught out, and we all said he looks a fantastic defender, and one day he'll be superb. He's getting to that superb bit now without the mistakes, obviously, of this year. But Dragusin just needs time, and I know, as Spurs fans, we're fed up of saying we need time. But I do think that's all he needs. He needs that consecutive run of games. The problem is, with the mistake he's made, he's not going to get them now for a while. I do think there's a good defender in there, but I think, I think Phil sums it up there. I'm not so sure the high line suits his way of playing. He is kind of that old-fashioned defender that kind of wants to defend on the edge of his box and things like that. But I think, like we've all said,
he might not be used to it, but I mean, he's got a big stratum. He's not slow.
He's not a slow lad.
But like you say, then it becomes down to like footballing IQ, positional play, intelligent awareness, spotting danger, which is what I like to look for in defenders. And he could have been even in a better position before he had to make the clumsy challenge for the ball. And if that had been Van der Ven or Romero, that's never a goal. You know what I mean? So
we say that, Adrian. I mean, it was a pass to him from our own player. It's not like it was a through ball from their team. He had every chance. All he needed to do was control the ball, and that situation would have never come. But his concentration was somewhere else, and he didn't control the ball, which led to a quick sort of decision making. The problem was he made the wrong decision. Like I say, I think another 10 minutes into the game, I don't think he'd have made the same decision. I think he'd have run alongside him, but we'll never know. This is the problem now. We'll never know. Luckily, on the night, it didn't cost us, other than having to use players that we maybe didn't want to use, and those 10 players that were on the pitch having to really, really, really dig deep and work hard. For me, I think we move on from Dragusin and start praising the rest of the team, because they're the ones that did it for us. Yeah,
hi to Map in the chat. He's quite active in the WhatsApp groups. I'll just move to the next banner then. Okay. This is what... Good decision by Ange to take Bergvall off after we go down to 10, Alan, or?
I wouldn't say it was a good decision. It was just the right decision. I mean, it was the necessary decision, because he had to adapt to the situation that he was forced into by the red card. So I think he made the decision to go with a back four. He wanted a back four, so he had to put in Destiny, and he had to take out one of the three in the middle, and Bergvall, unfortunately, is the low man on the totem pole, so he had to take him off. And so he went, was it a 4-2-3? But was it the right decision? To me, there was not going to be a right wrong. There was just salvaging as best he could. And I think he made the necessary decision that needed to be made. It was just unfortunate because I really wanted to see what Bergvall, has to offer, and it was the perfect opportunity for him to showcase his skills. Hopefully he gets another opportunity, maybe in the next Europa game, to showcase himself, because I think we're all excited about that.
Soren, your take on the substitution, the first one?
Yeah, I mean, I think when the board came up and we realised it was Bergvall going off, it was quite disappointing. But then you look at it and you think, well, who else could he have taken off? Papsar. Well, Papsar had a great game. Bissouma was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So who else? Who else do you take off? Do you take off Sonny? I mean, the way I kind of looked at it was, I would have kind of liked him to have maybe gone to a back three there and then, and sort of almost played Van der Ven, Davis, and Archie Gray, but that probably would have been too much more of a risk than what he did. So
from what I saw, we tended to go to a 4-3-2. But we did push forward when we could to attack, which was good, because if we'd have sat back for the whole of the game, I don't think we would have got the result.
No, I mean, that's it, And look, it doesn't matter what we sit here and say. In theory and in hindsight, every decision Ange Postecoglou made for that match worked. We won the game. We kept a clean sheet. We scored 3 goals. What did he do wrong? That's the way we should look at it. That Bergvall went off. We wanted to see what he does, but he's a young lad. He's going to get his opportunities. As fans, we want to see him because he's quite an exciting player and he's looking good. But look, he'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. He may even start on Sunday. Who knows? Well, not start, but play. So yeah, I think it was the right decision. In hindsight, it was the right decision, and it proved to be the right decision. So again, it's tick box, full stop.
Yeah, let me go back to the next banner. Well, of course, after the sending off, we then score a nice goal, right? Yeah. And very similar to his previous goal, actually. And yeah, Johnson 3-3. Last season he had 15 GA, only scored 5 goals. He's got 3 already this season. Alan, take it away.
Yeah, I think his stats are very good. I was looking at his stats right now, and they're on track to be amazing. They're also pretty darn amazing right now. I think having Solanke in the middle there is giving him some confidence. He's playing with a bit more confidence, which is why I think now he's 3-3. I don't know what it is about Solanke. I know what it is about Solanke. He's a very confident player, and to me, he reminds me of kind of a young Harry Kane in how he kind of plays. But I'm very happy for Brennan Johnson. Again, I wasn't thrilled. He wasn't showing me any reason to be thrilled about his play, but I am amenable to change my mind about him as he delivers on the promise that we kind of expect of him for the price that we paid for him. And this is a very promising start early in the season. That these are all positive signs, and it makes me feel more confident about him, that he's able to do this. It takes a lot. We saw in the beginning of the season, even in last season, he was playing like a player who had no confidence in their play style. And, that's hard to get out of, I guess. That's a mindset thing. That's not a practicing and, or how much time you play. It was obviously something, mental he needs to get over. And I think he's getting over it, which is really good, because I think now that we're seeing it, he's also adapting to the right side, because he's playing out of position, he's learning this position, and I think it's wonderful. I hope he can, and long may it continue.
Sorry, come to you on Brennan Johnson. I mean, I've been highly critical of him. When I looked at him before he came to the club, he wasn't one I was sort of thinking, great, let's get him in. He wasn't oven ready, and so. But 3-3, and he only scored 5 goals last season. 15 GA last season was good for him. He's still got to do it, but he's started well, and he's well on the way to having some excellent stats, as Alan's alluded to.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with Brennan Johnson is, look, he's had so much stick. The abuse he got was totally outrageous. He's a Tottenham player. The question was more not whether he was a shit player, whether he was good enough for the Premiership. And Ange wanted him. It was clear to see, he's an Ange type player. From what we saw last season, it certainly didn't look like he was going to be good enough. From what we've seen this year, it looks more like he's getting there. He's not there yet. Let's not pretend that he's the finished article now, because he's not. And yet he scored 3-3. Fantastic. I hope he goes on and carries that form on. The only question I have with him is, like somebody said in one of the comments, he's scored his goal. He's had a few other good moments, but then he goes missing as well. He's just got to keep that work rate up, and I'm over the mood for the lad. I'm absolutely pleased that he's come back, and I know some people are never going to want him in our team, and some people, it doesn't matter what he does, it's never going to be good enough. But for me, what more can we ask? If he's going to score a goal every game, then he's done more than what most of us wanted him to do.
All right, you finish first. Okay.
Yeah, a couple more assists, a little bit more. I think the thing that I'd like to see more from him is a little bit more defensive work as well, because he's showing that he can go forward. He's putting a couple of decent crosses in. He's scoring a few goals. He's missing some good chances still, which, he'll get over that. But I just want to see a little bit more from him defensively, because that's the problem. With the system we play, we rely on our wingers also defending as well, and I think that is, to me, that's the weakest part of his game. Is the defensive work from him. But look, fantastic. I hope he goes on and scores many, many more goals for us, and I hope he does eventually shut everybody up and get everybody on his side. Go on, Haz.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, I mean, Johnson has had a history of scoring against teams like this. The statistics show that he scores against bottom 10 teams in the league. I mean, it's proven in stats.
Yeah, but they're a top team in their league, though, Haz.
Yeah, but come on, let's be honest. I mean, Qarabag are probably one of the worst teams I've seen play against us in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, maybe.
Yeah, but look at them last year.
Last year?
Where did Leipzig finish in the Bundesliga?
Leipzig, Qarabag.
No, where did Leipzig finish last year in the Bundesliga?
What's that got to do with?
Because
Qarabag?
they held Leipzig and made Leipzig look pretty average last year. Quarter-finalist in the Europa Cup. So they're not a mug team. I mean, I'm not saying they're fantastic, though, but they're not a mug team.
Just my opinion, they're one of the worst teams I've seen play against us for a long time. They couldn't finish their dinner last night, put it that way.
No, they couldn't. I agree with you.
And a much better side would have scored 3 or 4 past us the way we were playing yesterday. So, especially with 10 men. But for me, with Johnson, he does score these goals, in these games. It's when we get to the Sunday, for example, which is the biggest test, I think, for everyone, not just Johnson, by the way, to see whether there is any difference from last year, to go there and get something in a controlled fashion, not this chaotic playing that we do. Because when I watch us, this is chaos. I I want to go there and get something. But Johnson's one player who needs to step up in those games, along with like Maddison as well, who goes missing in these big games. You know, apart from Arsenal away, Maddison didn't do much. But this is what I mean. Johnson needs to stand up and be counted. And it's okay him scoring the goals, but I just need to see him being more of a presence in the game. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And take control of it. And, you know, if he scores 2 goals on Sunday, that's fine. I'm not going to complain.
But why does he have to score 2 goals? Why can't he just put some assists in there? I mean, this is the argument I've got, when we sit here and we say, oh, he only scores against bottom 10 teams. And yeah, I get that argument. But the fact is, he can only score against the teams that he's played so far. And yes, Qarabag might not be the best team in the world, but he still scored against them. Sonny didn't score against them.
But Son's another conversation for another day, because I don't want to get.
We'll talk about him later. We'll talk about Son later.
I know he is, but you know,
I'm very brutal when it comes to Son.
We've got to look at it, and you know, it just baffles me that there's got to be an excuse all the time behind.
It's not really an excuse, though. It's just what I'm saying is, when we used to have, for example, someone like Kane back in the day, or when we had him, he would score like almost in these games every time. City away, he would do something in these games almost every time.
No, I'm not having that. Kane didn't turn up a lot of the times in big matches. Kane was missing a lot of times in the big matches. So let's not. I mean, I'm not slating Kane before anybody tries to jump down my throat. He is the best striker we've had. But
if you're going to lose examples like the Champions League final when he wasn't fit.
But there's been other finals. Man City, there's been plenty of times with
under Ryan Mason. Did you really expect us to get something in that final with Mason in charge? Really?
Why not?
We're not going to win that final with Mason in charge.
It's the same team.
They have that final.
But he was missing.
But I don't blame him, because we had one of the Ryan bloody Mason as the manager. What do you expect him to do? What tactical nous does Ryan Mason have to be managing a final?
The team would have been set up virtually the same as. Not saying
it wasn't the same as Jose. No, it wouldn't.
No, but the point is that it was a week before. Ryan Mason would not have come into that game and said, "Right, just forget everything you've done for the last 2 years." He's not that stupid, and I'm not saying he's the best manager in the world, but Harry Kane in plenty of big matches has gone missing. I'm not saying he isn't a good striker.
Did he score against most of the top 10 though?
Eventually, yeah, but how long did it take him? He didn't score a goal in August for how many years?
But then after August, he scored against
I know he did. And like I say, I am not getting against Harry Kane, because I would love him back.
Even Son in his heyday, but even before Son was
I think we get the comparison.
Quality team. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I need to see Johnson perform against better quality teams, and that goes for all of our players, not just him.
I want to see.
There is plenty of strikers that have not scored against the top teams. You know,
like who? Who they play
for?
Well,
Haaland. Most of his goals last year were against the bottom half teams.
Which you expect?
He still scored in the big games.
That's a comparison about goal scoring. Yeah, we'll see if that stands the test of time over this season, because we're talking about last season and like struggling through against all that adversity of injuries, missing players, suspensions, players away on duty and all that, and we still finished 5th. So there's something must be done right, you know? I mean, well, when like my take on Brennan Johnson's, I'm not so paranoid like some fans about him taking on a man and beating him, even though him and Odeberg are our 2 fastest players. If you get because most teams in the Premier League do not have wingers that can beat a man. Right, they don't. If they are out there, name the ones. Name me half a dozen. Right. So, but it's what it's about with tactics. It's about overloads all over the pitch. Even when you got the ball at the back by your goalkeeper, right? It's overloads. Otherwise, you'll never be able to play out from the press, right? It's overloads through the middle. It's overloads down the wings. So if you've got a 2v1, what I would then crib on is I want to see the crosses in the box, but I want to see someone in the box. Looks like we've got someone there in Solanke. So Brennan Johnson, I think the jury's going to be out on him. Really, he had his first season last season where he should have been drip-fed in the side. He wasn't oven ready. He's still they're decent stats for a first season player. But because he doesn't dribble And I've been highly critical of him, as I was Porro, and Porro proved me wrong. So I'm hoping Johnson does the same, and that will show that I know nothing about football, right? So yeah, so yeah, so that's that. That's with Brennan Johnson. Now,
those who watch the football and see, they all think Brennan Johnson is going to come good. And I tell you what, I mean, we're comparing him to people like Harry Kane. I mean, bloody hell. There's not many people you can compare to Harry Kane for goal scoring, full stop.
no.
But the lad is 22, 23 years old. Like you say, he came into the Premiership last year. He was never bought instantly to be the starting right winger. He was intended to be drip fed into it. Forget the price if that's where you're going to come.
No, I'm not going with the price. Let me finish what I'm going to say. Yeah, I would agree with that in that sense, but he doesn't have the great argument here because Archie Gray did come straight from the Championship. He has a year of Premier League experience behind him, Johnson. It's not like he came straight from the Championship.
He got his share of goals as well.
He was at Forest.
He was at Forest for like a year in the Premier League. So
I don't know if his first season or a season before he scored a hatful of goals for Forest.
yeah, I'm just saying there's no for Johnson there should be less leeway because he has Premier League experience. With Gray, I can understand it more. Even though I'm not a massive fan of Gray, that's another debate. But like I can see why there's more leeway with say someone like Gray or Bergvall because they have much less Premier League experience. But with players have Premier League experience, there shouldn't be as much leeway because what's the point of having them find the player with a year behind them?
You're also bringing players into a system that really there isn't another team plays the same system as we do. So, I mean, look.
He is an enigma, though.
He's an enigma
because, like, what I've seen recently, when I look for players and look at videos, even if they look good in videos, players that can make things happen, that have got good vision and move the ball quickly, right? He's shown that in the last couple of games. Them 2 goals he scored are excellent finishes, right? And yet, what gets you is then he then miss a sitter or a blast one over the bar from 5 yards out from last season. He should have scored more goals last season. Then perhaps no one will be on his case. He is an enigma. We're going to come on to another one if you've done with Johnson. I don't know if you've done.
What I'm trying to say is I just want to see our players, not just Johnson, by the way, because I'm picking up Johnson. That's why I named players like Maddison and other players perform in these big games. And I want to see in-game management to control the game, not this kamikaze, chaotic football watch last night, which we could have easily, against a better side, lost 3 or 4-1.
Well, we dropped into a 4-3-2, what I was seeing at the game. We did push forward at times down the flanks as well. But when we sort of dropped off without the ball, we were sort of, I thought we were like a 4-3-2. But if someone in the chat thinks different, say something.
No, it was a 4-3-2, 4-2-3. What I'll credit Ange for last night is he did take off Johnson for Kulusevski, not because Johnson played badly, by the way, as a tactical thing, because me and TJ were just talking about this. He used him as a hybrid winger / midfielder because obviously Kulusevski can drop in. So I'll give credit for Ange for that.
He adapted taking Bergvall off, obviously, and changed there. We've seen the games this season. It's either been 3 at the back or 4 at the back for most of the time. So there's not been. I might have seen 2 at the back during an attack or 1 or 2 attacks here and there, but it's been mainly 3 at the back or 4 at the back. So there has been changes. I want to move on to another enigma. This guy. Give us your opinion on Bissouma last night.
It was probably his best game in a long time for us. Yeah. He was probably my man of the match, if I'm being honest. I thought he actually had the most control out of all of our players in terms of like the game. He was probably the less chaotic person we had, I think, on the pitch, along with Van der Ven. But obviously Van der Ven's jobs are different. So, but he was my man of the match, really, Bissouma. And I did think he kind of benefited playing with Sarr. Or if he played alongside Bentancur as well, I think it benefited him because if you put him alongside someone like Kulusevski and with Maddison, I'm not as confident, say, Kulusevski will do that role the same way Sarr does, because Kulusevski is just way more attacking. And I think that helped him a bit, but he just had a lot more control of the ball than any of our players, I thought. And he got us out of a lot of bad situations as well. So, yeah.
Shall we answer this question before we move on to ask your opinions on Bissouma? Who do you think will be our top goal scorer come December?
Does he mean all competitions or just the league?
It's got to be all competitions. I mean, I'll go for the little man myself anyway because he's done it every season for us.
Maybe
I'd go
Son.
for Son,
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah.
I'm going to say Solanke.
Solanke, yeah.
You Solanke as well? You
Mhm.
could.
I'm
Solanke
going to be quite controversial here. I'm going to go Brennan Johnson.
could well happen, couldn't it?
Because you know, I think it's probably going to be Johnson or Solanke, and it could go either way. It all depends whether Brennan Johnson can keep the form that he's in now. If he can keep the form that he's got now, he'll score and he'll keep scoring. I mean, you would hope it'll be Solanke because that's his main job, isn't it? But it could be any of those front three.
Stay with you on Bissouma. Your take on Bissouma last night?
Bissouma, I thought was fantastic. I mean, I'm seeing one or two comments. Bissouma had a nightmare, and I'm like, did I watch a different match again? Yeah, I seem to watch different matches each week to other people, but I thought he played really well. And I think, like Haz has just said, he was up for probably man of the match. He got through so much work, and I can't see how we could slate him. I've seen one or two people saying it, and I'm gobsmacked for anybody that thought he had a poor game.
Alan, your take on Bissouma last night?
I think Bissouma did very well overall. He broke up Qarabag's forward momentum. He was really good at recovery. I think we don't win 3-0 with 10 men down without Bissouma on the pitch last night. He had one moment where he, with regard to the penalty kick, I don't know. I guess in slow-mo I saw he got the ball, but then he kicked the player. I mean,
it was the back of his heel. Similar thing happened with Kulusevski against Arsenal last year, and we didn't get a penalty.
Yeah.
I was going to throw that one in.
Yeah. That was the only moment that I thought, it was kind
Evening,
of
Spurs analyst. Evening.
But look, it panned out. It worked out in our advantage for us. The guy skied it, and that was the end of it. So I don't think. I still think he makes that challenge, even if he were to go back and say, "Would you do it again?" I think the answer is yes. He probably would have made the challenge.
I don't think it was even a penalty, to be honest.
Yeah. So I think he did a very good job. I don't think we have anybody on the bench that would have done what he can do last night. He really put in a show last night. So I was very happy with his, and hopefully if he starts on Sunday, he can do exactly the same thing again.
Well, it'll be down to tired legs, won't it? Because 10 men played that game for 88 minutes if you had the extra time on the first half and second half. So we'll see how it may be a game of two halves against Man United. He may have to use 5 subs because I think he'll have a core of players there that have played, and we'll see how it affects them on the day. But we don't want to use that as an excuse because it's a squad game,
Right.
So yeah. My take on Bissouma, he like Werner, Richarlison, Johnson, Bissouma, and they were on my sort of sword of Damocles hanging over your head list for the end of the season to see how well they perform, to see if they've got futures at the club, which is fair enough because Bissouma, because rumoured to be a bit of a party animal, he's still on my not trustworthy list. He's had when he has played this season, he's done well. He's been well. I mean, and he held the ball so well they couldn't get him. It was a bit Dembele-esque yesterday when he's or even Ndombele when he did play well. When you couldn't he could just half turn away from you and lose you, and it was. I want to see more of this because we got plenty of midfielders to put in front of him if he don't perform. This is what I'm liking now. We seem to have options, which is good, So that's my take on Bissouma. Right, I'm going to go to the next banner. Let's all talk about this guy. Alan, you're talking about man of the matches. I thought him, Vicario and Bissouma could have all vied for it personally.
Yep. He did amazing. I mean, he did what he does, which is, he's very fast. They couldn't really get past him. He made some amazing tackles.
Evening, Ian. Go on.
And and he was playing on the other side, right? He had to switch sides because of the red card. So he wasn't even playing in his normal position. And I think he did a fantastic job. I think he doesn't get enough credit because he's young. I think he deserves very high praise. And I was saying earlier on Jose's channel that I listen to other teams' podcasts, and the one player that they never criticize and always seem to envy is Mickey Van de Ven. Like, they would all, on any team, regardless of who it is, they would have Mickey Van de Ven on their team. So I know we've got this guy who's just amazing. Hopefully we can lock him down for a long time to come.
Soren, he's very good in a higher line. I've always wondered how he would do in a low block when he's got to make more tackles and things like that. And fans, you can rightly criticise the higher line when it doesn't work, right? That's fair enough. But also, in a low block, I believe that Romero and VDV would pick up more yellow cards. I mean, your take on VDV, Soren?
I just think he was immense. He's fast becoming probably our most valuable player, and he hopefully will be with Tottenham Hotspur for many, many years to come. And like you, I think Alan said, or yourself said, he was playing out of position. He was playing on the right instead of the left, which kind of made me wonder whether he would be a bit uncomfortable. Yeah, I mean, look, I've been a big fan of Ben Davies, and I know I get a lot of criticism over it. I thought the last two games that he's played well. And, yes, he's getting on, but he's still a valuable player for us. And I think he gets more stick than he deserves. But Van de Ven, I just think, was immense last night. I think he's just getting better and better and better, and you just wonder what the ceiling's going to be. The only worry I've got is he's going to get better and better, and the big boys are all going to come in for him very soon. That's the biggest worry. If I was Mr. Levy, I would be looking at that and saying, right, there's an 8-year contract. Full stop. We know it's not going to happen, but he is one of those players that he has to be part of a team that we build around. And yeah, I mean, whether it's him and Dragusin or him and Romero going forward, I think Romero will go within the next year or two, but
I don't think there's no hurry to tie VDV down. But Romero,
I mean, I think
he doesn't want to stay off the end of the
City
season.
were looking at Van de Ven last season, and there was the Real Madrid ambassador also went to the North London derby this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was watching Van de Ven.
Oh no, I think a lot of teams will be watching Van de Ven at the moment. I mean, one of the questions and I've said it a few times now, I did wonder how he would play if he's not playing in that high line and using his pace. And I think yesterday kind of answered a few of those questions. He looked good. I find it virtually impossible to say anything negative about the bloke. He's just immense. He's just.
Problem is, if we don't build around these players, they're going to go. That's what's happening.
Yeah,
that's why Romero's leaving. I mean, I think next season.
He's not leaving yet. I mean, we've got to accept, and it's. I think. What's he got? Another 2 years after this year.
Yeah, so they need to start talking about a contract January or in summer, don't they? If not,
yeah. I mean,
look, I don't worry about this. I mean, like, if to me, any player gets down to 2 years, if they don't want to re-sign, it's two reasons: either the money, or they want to go somewhere else, or they're not happy. Then sell them. Just sell them.
Is there an option though for an extra year with Romero or anything? Do we know?
I don't
think so.
I don't know, but VDV's only just come in, so it'd be
I mean, he's 1 year into
VDV's got at least 4 years left, I would have thought.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem is when Romero leaves, we're going to need to buy another centre back, and
we got Vaskovic, Ashley Phillips, Dorrington can play on the left, and
but you've got that Croatian lad coming as well.
He's like 17 though.
Yeah,
he's 17.
Just go out and sign an established player.
Yeah, but you've got.
I agree with you, but then if you go out and buy another established centre back, that's blocking the youngsters coming again for the next 4 or 5 years. And
but he's only 17.
As much as I agree with you,
by the time the player's done, he'll be 21 or something.
Well, no, but the thing is, so if we keep Romero for one more season after this, and you've got Ash Phillips coming in, you've got the Croatian lad coming in,
Vaskovic.
Busquets.
Yeah,
he's like, how is
I mean,
17, something like that, 16, 17.
You got Yang coming in December or January.
He comes in and he'll be 18, won't he?
I think
he'll be 18 when he comes to us. So, another year off that, another year with Ash Phillips, and I agree with you about sign. We'd want that.
I do worry about Dragusin in the high line after yesterday.
Yeah, I mean. But again, it's like we said earlier, I don't know if you heard it as that, until he gets a run of games, we don't know how he'll settle into that, because he's only coming in and playing an odd game here or half a game there or 6 minutes last night. He needs that run of games to get the confidence and to get used to playing with the centre-backs we've got. So we don't know how good or how bad he might be with a run of games.
I mean, the thing is, in the Euros, he was brilliant, but they don't play such a high line, Romania.
No, and I think we've said that.
I don't think he's a good defender. I just think, like all our defenders, we hang them out to dry with the way we play.
Yeah, and I would agree with you with that one. I think without Van der Ven,
we'd be cooked. Literally.
The type of defenders we've got would be very high risk. Even more high risk than it is now, because Van der Ven gets us out of so much trouble.
In reality, we need another Van der Ven on the right. In reality, but whether you
can find him,
I don't know. You can find another fast defender.
Dragusin's not slow though. This is the whole point. He's not slow.
But the problem is, because the line is literally on the halfway line, pretty much. You need someone who's like as fast as Van der Ven to cover it, because
we need to hire a sprinter.
You literally, Because you look at even Van der Ven now, even last night before he had to do that switch, or even, just in general, when I watch him, he comes across a lot as well, not just like his side. He'll come across and say if a player's going past Romero or something, or whoever, even a fullback side, he'll come across and he'll clean that one up as well. So he's almost doing, last night he's almost doing double the running. I was quite worried about him, because if he got injured or something, the amount of running he was doing, his hamstring or something, and we have United on Sunday. It was just... I'm really worried about his hamstrings.
Right, let's brief. Mark, your take on VDV? You haven't said nothing yet.
No, I was playing a bingo on Tottenham on tour.
Okay, fine.
And that is the truth. No. I went on their fan channel, the fan call in. I was only meant to be on there 10 minutes, and I completely corrupted it and spent an hour and a half on there. So, but what was the question? Sorry.
We was just talking about Van der Ven's performance. What did you make of it, basically?
What, last night?
Yeah.
He always does all the sort of mopping up because he's got to. I mean, Dragusin, in my mind, the way I saw it, he was let down because of the stupid system again. I thought we'd stop doing that nonsense after I'd watched a Brentford game, because there didn't seem to be like the full-backs was number 10s, whatever they do. But sort of Dragusin was just stood there on his own, because I think Van der Ven fell over or lost a ball or something, and he certainly wasn't in a position to help him out. Like, get back.
Van der Ven, I'd say Van der Ven was the one who put the pass to him.
Yeah, Van der Ven passed.
But like, I mean, Van der Ven just helps us out all the time because of the suicidal system we play. I mean, I've been going on about this for Lord knows how many shows. I mean, when I watched this last Saturday against Brentford, I thought we'd stop that, all that inverted nonsense. But seeing last night, it doesn't look like we have. Whether Brentford just played, because in the Brentford game, you noticed we didn't even have 50% of the ball. You know, it was 48 to us, I think, 52 to them. So, I mean, well, it was the same thing. Just that one ball over the top, and they were in. I mean, how many goals should they have scored? Like,
We're looking at the stats with TJ on my show. They had 14 attempts on goal.
Yeah, I know we won.
How many did we have?
I know we won 3-0. I know we won 3-0.
Players, I think we've been cooked, you know.
Yeah, I know we won 3-0, and it was a great result. We only had 10 men, but you know, if they'd had some finishers in their side, we'd have drawn it or lost it. You know, that was my take. But
let's move on to this guy, because I think, like, you've got certain players in the team, they do an unsung job, and like they don't get noticed, and sometimes they don't get the credit. And it's only when actually you do look at the stats to see how much they've actually contributed to the game. So let's talk about this guy. Alan, your take on Sarr yesterday?
Yeah, he put in quite the show yesterday, and we needed him to. You know, again, I was very impressed with the team overall because they were playing with 10 men. It was going to be that much harder for such a long time. You know, it was and I think Pat Matasar showed that you can still be young and you can still put in amazing shows. Age really isn't the factor. You know, he shows here 92% passes, 100% completion. He is part of the future of this club. He really is. And he's just exciting to watch. You know, he every once in a while in previous games, maybe he can be a little bit aggressive. You know, he'll catch like an early yellow card, but sometimes you need that. You know, I like some of that aggressiveness. I feel like that's something that the squad overall lacks, is a bit of aggressiveness at times. And in fact, sometimes we get bullied by more physical teams. But I really I feel confident with him in the midfield. I've never felt, these last couple games, especially when he's playing, I haven't felt a lack of confidence because he's on the pitch. I feel like he does a job very well, and he's fairly consistent.
Mark, do you like Sarr as a player, not just on last night's game, but are you
Yeah, well, I was saying for a long time that he just runs about a lot and don't contribute a great deal. But last night it was one of the best games I've seen him play. Like, he seemed to be everywhere. He was a bit like Bissouma. Bissouma was like everywhere. I know I only watched it on the telly. I wasn't at the stadium. Blah 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 blah. But like, wherever the camera was, if it was at one end or the other, you'd see Sarr and Bissouma always in the picture. And Sarr did contribute to the game. Like, he was making tackles, he was passing. Like, he had a good game yesterday. And let's see more of it.
Has?
Kind of like what I alluded to Bissouma, but just to like a lesser extent. I was more happy to see him score the goal. I know it sounds weird, but it's because what I was complaining about before, he doesn't have any end product in that sort of sense. So even though it was like massive deflection, it was going on target. So yeah, so I was happy with that. But also we kind of needed him because of his legs, really. With 10 men, Sarr probably does the most running of all our side. At least that's what I see. So I thought he just put in a very good shift. Yeah.
Soren, your take on Sarr? Is he one player you like, or?
I think for a long time, I think he's a great player. And again, he's going to be a really, really top talent. I just think, you know, he's one that is just going to keep getting better and better. And he's the type of player that he really does suit the Ange system because he does a lot of closing down. He does a lot of running around. And sometimes that's the type of player that we don't give credit to. His work rate is phenomenal. I'd love to see stats on how much ground he covers in a game, because I bet he's one of our top people, top players in that side. He just look. I've got a lot of faith in this team that's coming up, and we're gonna just keep getting better and better and better. And it's exciting. You know, I know some people don't see the excitement of these youngsters coming through, and you know, we keep going on about, oh, they're only young, but they're only going to get better. That's the thing. They're only going to get better. And it's exciting. And Pap Sarr is another one that I can see a long future for him. And I hope it is at Tottenham.
My view, what I wanted to see from him, because I go to what Alan alluded with, was a bit more bite. As far as fitness goes, I think him and Kulu probably be the two fittest players in the team, the way they get the ground they cover. Yeah, I want to see a bit more bite from him, and actually to see if he can offer more. And by that I mean, like, all right, he scored yesterday. Yeah, that. And like, you know, be a bit more playing people in, but his work rate. You can understand why Ange likes him. He's that box-to-box midfielder. But he doesn't look... He's not a sexy-looking player, is he? Everyone wants like a world-class player in your midfield. They want like everyone to be a De Bruyne or a Hoddle or something like that, or a
Ginola or something. Yeah.
That you've got to have these players in your team. Now it's down to Ange, as far as I'm concerned. He's got to find, because we've got 7 midfielders with Kula and the 2 young kids. He's got to find several blends of 3. He's got to do it at the front. Now I think the midfield's looking better. I still think their front 3 is meh, but I'll be honest. Right, it's still getting there. And then once he gets the front 3, he's got to get a blend of them when they're fit, when Odegaard's fit in mid-October and all that. So that's my... Who is a bit Marmite to people as well. Alan, Archie Gray, 88% pass completion, 9 ball recoveries. And that was more when he tended to move in and tuck into midfield a bit more.
Yeah. Well, again, he is sort of playing in... not necessarily out of position, because he has played the role before, but I think his preference and where he would shine is in the midfield. But I guess with 10 men, we were asking a lot of him, you know, and Qarabag, they spent a lot of time on his side. A lot of the game was spent on the right side. He had a lot to do. And I think overall he did pretty well. There were times that you could see he made, whether it was a bad pass, couple of times guys got past him. But you know, we had a clean sheet. So we were able to deal with it regardless. And it's a lot to ask for a player who's new to the team to play 10 men for the majority of the game. I think there was a lot of pressure on him. It's a lot of pressure on him anyway, because he's new to the Premier League. He's new to the team. And, you know, Pedro Porro, those are not small shoes to fill. So I think he put in a very good performance. He looked tired. I think they all looked tired, but I think Archie Gray looked tired probably at the end, you know, right about the 45-minute mark, and then he looked tired in the beginning, and it looked like he got a second win because he seemed to be picking up. He was doing better towards the end of the game.
It's interesting what Phil says here, because I thought we were going to have these two, because in the pre-season games, he did start off a couple of those games, and I'm trying to get an insight into Ange's minds when he's picking teams and who's on the bench, because then you get an insight into the manager's mind. And he started Bissouma and Sarr in a few games with Maddison. You know, now it seems that Kulu's made a name for himself, so it's just switched a bit for the better.
You know, I think that Archie Gray, he he's a different kind of player than Pedro Porro. You know, Pedro Porro is I think he's more. I always see him like as a winger. I mean, the way he plays, he seems so forward thinking. You know, he's so good at the link
wing
up.
back, really.
Yeah.
He's a wing back, really. Yeah.
Just on what Ian's put in the chat, yeah, it's a good time for me to try and promote our fledgling channel. If you could like and subscribe and please leave a comment, guys, I'd be grateful. It just helps the channel grow. We're not really interested in thousands of members. If they come, they'll come because they like the content, you know. We're not member orientated, but, you know, it does all help. So, yeah.
He's just young. When I say young, I don't mean that as a negative. He's new to our team. And he's new to the system, and he's new to the Premier League. It's a lot on your shoulders, especially for someone at his age. You know, and I think it would be very negative of me to say like, oh, he had a poor performance and just harp on the negatives of the things that he did yesterday. It doesn't help anything by doing that. To harp on those things. I think he did a very good job. I think he needs probably 12 to 18 months of game time before he's really ready for first team football. But I think he's going to do very well. He was an expensive player to buy, but I think he will rise to that occasion. I really do.
Yeah. What's your take on Gray, Mark?
Well, for a start, he looked absolutely beat at 90 minutes.
Yeah.
When they were walking off the pitch, he looked like he was going to collapse. But, like, I mean, to be honest, I watched the whole game, and he was okay. You know, I mean, to be honest, you only see a player if they're brilliant or they're absolute rubbish. And if you don't notice them at all when you're watching the game, then they were sort of in that bracket. You know, they did their job. They did, you know, they've done nothing horrendously wrong, and they've done nothing brilliant. You think, oh, what was that? You know, so you don't know. To be honest, I didn't notice him. You know, so he was okay.
Well, you're not alone, Mark. I don't think you're alone.
But he's he's what, 20, 18, 20-year-old? I mean, he shouldn't be setting the world on fire. You got to give the lad time. You know, but he was all right. You know, that's all I can say. You know, he did nothing spectacular. But then again, he didn't guff nothing up. So
players in the role really do, though, do they? Is he a player you like or not? Or you just think he's average?
I don't know. I saw him at Leeds last season. Everyone was raving about him, blah, blah, blah. I've got to be honest with you, even at Leeds last season, I thought he was all right. I wasn't sitting there thinking this guy's special. And I know a lot of people told me he's come from like a footballing family. I mean, even my dad told me he was like Archie Gray's dad and granddad. They're all like famous footballers back in the day. Obviously, I don't know them, but but to me, from what I've seen of him, and even in this game, he was all right. I mean, I've along about Bergvall, his passing range and stuff, and obviously he got taken off after 5 minutes, and maybe we've seen something special out of him if he stayed on. But I didn't feel like Gray really affected the game that much. I actually felt he benefited more when we went down to 10 men because he was tucking in a bit more in terms of like he wasn't going as forward as much, so I kind of helped him in that sense. But at the same time, he was really struggling because they were overloading his side, and because I know Soren mentioned about Johnson not coming back as much. And once Kulusevski came on, it did help him out a bit in the second half. Yep. But he doesn't even come across to me as a fullback because I just don't think he has the pace. That's just my opinion. And then people say he should play as a 6, but we don't really play as number 6. So that's another problem. But in general, as a player, I just don't see anything like he's not rubbish. I'm not saying he's rubbish because everyone wants to jump to extremes when we have disagreements on this or on a lot of things on YouTube. But I don't think he's that good either. Like I'm yet to see something of him even in his Leeds days that made me think, wow, what an amazing player. I don't think he even got in the championship team of the season last year or something, or he wasn't even the championship's best player. So we've got to wait and see, I guess. I think Dan has said this before on here. He probably would have benefited with a loan back to the Championship for another year or two, and maybe come back better. I just don't think he's ready for this. And like I said, I haven't seen anything special out of him. So based it on vibes and reputation that the media wants to sell, like they sold Sessegnon to us, like before we bought him, saying Sessegnon's the best player ever, blah blah. And then he comes in, he was not that great. Let's be honest. So I'm not going to base on reputation and stuff like that, saying he's a good player and what every random pundit says because he's got a history of a family being that way. He has to go out and prove it. So for me, so far, he's done all right, but I'm yet to see something that makes me go, wow. Like, even this range of
can you repeat your question
great.
because I can't find it?
Yeah.
It's about, I did see it. It was, hang on.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. It's only about 5 or 6 messages ago, Ian.
No, there was one before that as well.
Or maybe 10.
I wasn't sure which one it was. Sorry, I come to you because when I give my take, because what I wanted to see out of Graham Bergvall, and I've said it from the beginning of the season, they've looked good in their cameo roles. They've done well. They both did well pre-season. Bergvall did better than Gray, in my opinion. There was one game against Bayern Munich when I thought Gray was poor, to be honest. He was poor. But what I wanted to see, and even if he was knackered yesterday, good, because I wanted to see him play 90 minutes. We played 88 minutes yesterday with the 2 extra time periods that we had. We played 88 minutes with 10 men. I was glad just to see him come through the 88 minutes because you're an 18-year-old kid playing in the pace of the Premier League football. And it was a pacey game yesterday because they had to keep moving because Qarabag did cause us problems. And it's all right, their manager moaning about the result and all that and having to walk from their coach or whatever crap he was coming out with. But if they'd put their chances away, they'd have been in that game. They should have scored the penalty and the easy sitter. So you can't complain about that. But back to Gray, your take on Gray?
Everybody knows I think he's a fantastic player. Let's go back to when Porro first came to us and people were saying he's crap, he can't defend, and now he's the bee's knees. Archie Gray, you can look at the game that he had in 2 different ways. Going forward, I thought he was solid. I thought he did some good passing. He did some good runs. He dribbles. Defensively, he wasn't as strong as you would want him to be. But let's look at it this way. They had 2 or 3 players sometimes coming down that right hand or our right hand side, their left. They were overloading that side. He had no help from Brennan Johnson, which, you know, I'm not slating Brennan Johnson for it. I've already said my piece on it. I don't think he does help out enough. The lad was tired because of the amount of running he has to do. He is up and down that right side. And if you watched him, he was in their half a lot, and I mean a lot. But the problem with that is whether he hasn't got the pay. I mean, I thought he was quite nippy when you've watched him before, or when I've watched him before. He did look a little bit slower yesterday, and he did look tired. But I think that was purely for the work rate he was having to do, and he was struggling defensively. There is no doubt about that. But I mean, I've heard everything last night. He was showing the players around the outside. Well, isn't that what a defender's meant to do? Show them down the outside and not let them cut in on them. Every excuse in the book to say how rubbish he was. He wasn't rubbish last night. He wasn't fantastic. He had, I would say, a solid game where he made a few mistakes and he did some good stuff, which will always get overlooked by those that don't want to see it. He didn't set the world alight, but he certainly wasn't poor. And I just think he needs time. And I've said it from the beginning that this lad will be a big player for us. But I also want to see him playing that kind of holding midfielder rather than the right back, because he's not a right back. Yes, he filled in for Leeds last year. And where Has says he was correct, he didn't make the best 11, but he was voted the best youngster in the league last year. So, I mean, he did get his accolades. So let's not overlook the fact. Yeah, he didn't get in the first or the best 11 from the championship, but he was the young player of the season. So what we can look at this player and find all the negatives, or we can find the positives. This lad will be a big player for Tottenham Hotspur coming up, and he will be.
Play football like every week, but anyway.
Pardon?
Because people quite some not expert. I play football like every week, but anyway, it's not professional, obviously. But he always in the comments. Don't worry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, I mean, look. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't his best game, and the game that you allude to with against Bayern. Let's not forget he was ill when he was playing as well. He was coming off being ill, so not making excuses for him, but everybody seems to overlook these kind of things, that when you've got a player, same as Bissouma coming back with malaria, was playing rubbish for a while. It's the same as us. If we've been ill, we're not always on our best form, but he's a young lad. Let's just give him a break. Same as Brennan Johnson. Let's just give these kids a break.
I mean, I won't judge them. I've said to Mark before down here, get him to come in. I mean, like, before I can judge Graham Bergvall, we can see they've got the talent and different skill sets, but you need to see these players play about 10 full games of 90 minutes. You can't assess them on one, and they've come in and they weren't oven ready players, and neither was Johnson when he came in. So that's 3 that have come in and not oven ready. So that is a justified critique when you say you're bringing these players in. We're fortunate that other young players we brought in that were young, if you include Udogie and you include VDV and you include Sarr, they've given us something, and we've got rid of a lot of the old guard. But I want to see Bergvall play 90 minutes and all that. I mean, like,
but that's what I said. But that's what I said, Adrian. Like last night, he did nothing spectacular. He did nothing rubbish. He was just like.
I didn't actually mention any mistake he made. I just said
no.
Great.
I know you didn't.
That bad. It was
I mean, the thing with Gray last night.
He did his job. He did his job, and that was it.
Yeah, he was far better going forward than he was defending. Which the problem is, in theory, as a right back, he should be stronger defending than going forward. So in that sense but if that's what Angie's telling him to do and get forward, he was good going forward. He just was not fantastic defending, and he did need some help. You could see that he was screaming out for some help. And when Kulu came on, he did look better. He got that second wind. When Brennan Johnson was on, he was having to do it all on his own, and that was the problem last night. They were overloading that side. And when you consider he was up against 2 or 3 players, it's hard to know which one to run with when you've got 3 players that close to you.
I know, because I know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those that we just need to give him a little bit of time.
Problem is, Soren, and this is nothing against these young players themselves, by the way, before we go into like debates about Bergvall and whoever. The reason I don't say we need to give players these time is because our manager comes out and says we're going to challenge for the title like he did the other week.
And for 45 million quid, you'd expect him to be ready, to be honest.
And this is against Gray as a player or a person himself. I'm just
saying. I don't disagree with the money aspect.
I think the problem is, and I agree with you on that sentiment, Mark, that, where we talk, but the problem is he doesn't set the price tag.
No, I know he doesn't. I know.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with you. But, when we talk about him being a £45 million player, look, none of us are going to sit here and say he's a £45 million player. We know he isn't. But with that, you are paying the English tax and you are paying what he could become. That's the problem. I mean, I would dare say if we sat here, we would probably say he's a 15, 20 million pound player as he is now. He could become that 45, 50, 60, 70 million pound player going forward.
Will he be sold by then?
Yeah, but this is the problem, that we don't set the prices. And if he is a player that we have put our hopes on the future, and I know like yourselves and Has doesn't like that, the future looking at things, because you want it here and now. And sort of say you want it here and now. the problem is we've paid that £45 million, which we know is an inflated price. You know, let's not. But the problem is, it's not his fault that he has cost £45 million, and I think with certain times you've got to forget that price tag, because
I wasn't. By the way, my criticism or whatever it was, or whatever you want to call it, wasn't based on his price tag. I was just based on.
I know, yeah.
Because I don't look at the price. I look at the price tag in the sense that I would have spent, for example, the Odegaard and the Gray money on the first team rather than two youngsters. Personally, that's what I would have done. Not in the sense that they cost that money, so I'm basing their performances on that money. My critique or analysis, whatever you want to call it, was based on just like how I feel about him as a player.
I mean, the thing I'd like to see with
you were trying to play that with Johnson for me, and I was like, there wasn't the price tag, wasn't the issue.
Yeah.
How I feel about him as a player.
The thing I'd like to see with Gray, though, is to actually play him in his position, because he is not a right. I mean, he did play right back for Leeds last season, and it was all right. But that is not his position, and I would like to see him play his position.
Let's answer Phil's question. I'll read it out. We have to give Ange credit for sticking to this system, not twisting. And even when we went to 10 men, it worked playing on the front foot and very effective, hence the 3-0 win. Panel's thoughts. Ali Gold made a very interesting point, actually.
Yes and no.
He said, okay, we'll come to it. Ali Gold made a very interesting point.
I think in the short term, it did work. As in because we scored straight after, which we probably, if we're going to win the game, we probably had to
score. To me, we've got to wait to the end of the season and see where we are, whether we've won anything.
I think you meant this particular game.
Growth and improvement. That's what I want to see, growth and improvement. But it was interesting because on this point, it covers what Ali Gold was saying about fans are conflating Ange's football philosophy with tactics, and they are separate, in my opinion. They are separate. Others might think not. That's fair enough. It's football philosophy. We know. He said, "I want us to play the Spurs way, attacking football, basically on the front foot."
I don't know. We played the Spurs way. You could argue then with Poch and Redknapp, but we were way more balanced.
Yeah.
Because you're saying just want attacking football, then
they may have. Well, then you'd have to assess. Then you've got to look and you've got to assess the players they've got. They played that way because of the players they've got. I mean, who wouldn't want a Moussa Dembele in your team to start off?
Then he had Wanyama as a 6. He didn't play as high of a line. He didn't play inverted fullbacks.
And with Poch, I mean, look at Poch. You had the desk. You had Dele, Ericsson, Son, and Kane. How many goals they get? Now our front four can't score.
But Redknapp didn't have that sort of attack.
No, he didn't. But he had good players in there, didn't he? That did a good job.
I was saying Redknapp didn't play this kamikaze football, from what I remember.
But he's a different. Well, then you've got a different style manager. I mean, like Spurs' way is attacking football, basically.
Yeah, but I'm saying it was still.
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it's been over my 6 decades. It's been attractive attacking football. That is the Spurs way. That's why the motto is to dare is to do, which Ange is definitely to dare is to do, you know. But I mean,
I think too. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but like
too daring, if you want my opinion.
Right, fair enough. Every system works. I've said it before, and every system fails on its day. They all work on the day. They all fail on the day. It's whether the system and the players you've got work over an entire season. That's what you've got to judge it on. Now, I've seen a few people backtracking on Ange's system because they've actually seen us playing 3 at the back and 4 at the back instead of 2. You know, and there's been slight tweaks when both the fullbacks haven't been going forward. I mean, that is clearly visible. Well, it is to me. I mean,
that's what I want to see.
You see, you've got fans will always have different perceptions on the way the game's played or the system. Sometimes I think, well,
I just think you have to be adaptable to the situation and the team you're playing against.
Yeah, definitely.
If we just sat back last night, Mark, like most teams do when they go down to 10 men, I actually think that we'd be more risk of conceding a goal. But I don't know that. I can only like sort of.
Well, yeah. I can see that point of view, but like, I mean, what worried me is that, like, I'm taking nothing away from Qarabag because obviously I wouldn't even get in their team, obviously, but like, they're not. Where would you say if Qarabag come into the Premier League, would they get relegated?
Probably, I think.
I would say probably.
No, I don't think they would. I mean, there certainly wouldn't be.
Well, they'd certainly be down now, wouldn't they? Well, they'd certainly be down like in the bottom half.
Yeah, they'd certainly be down in the bottom half. I don't dispute saying that. You know, I mean, like we said, It wasn't Leipzig. It was Leverkusen last year, wasn't it, that they played? But
to be honest, I'll be honest with you, like that constant on the halfway line. I mean, all they had to do is put one ball over the top, and that is it. Jorginho, whatever his name was.
That's what
Yeah, he was straight onto it. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had, well, apparently that whatever his name was, he's meant to be a good finisher, but he never showed that last night. If they'd have had someone that could have put the ball in the net, all right, we won 3-0. Happy days. I was as pleased as anybody, but I just do not like this system.
Part of my mouth
I
about
don't.
that.
Yeah, it is. It's like I nearly had 3 heart attacks watching that.
If it was a situation like we were parked on a halfway line for a long period of time, I could get it. But a lot of times against Brentford, even against Qarabag, we were back defending. We weren't parked on. I mean, I think this is a delusion that we are parked on the halfway line with 2 defenders.
Adrian, when the other team has the ball, naturally do drop. We're talking about when we have the ball, right?
Yeah.
You have to attack. At the same time, you've got to attack.
When we had last night when we had literally everyone in their half, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? We don't need another goal.
Yeah. Brentford was completely different. Because I managed to watch the whole of that game, and I studied the defence, right? And there was loads of occasions where only one of the fullbacks was forward.
Yeah, it was different.
It was. And there was loads of occasions as well when our back four was in a straight line. And because after last Saturday, I actually thought, yes, he's learned, he's changed. There's no more of this nonsense, But after last night, I sort of don't think he did learn. It was Brentford making us play like that because you notice last week against Brentford, it was very rare that Porro and Udogie disappeared up the other end of the pitch.
I'll tell you that Sands changing his system against
physical side, and we struggle against physical.
You could change the system against United.
We find that, no disrespect to less wealthier teams or those in the bottom half of the division, that's what happened to us last year. These teams come when they're not as good, or haven't got the quality. They come with lots of energy, and they are physical. Even I don't mean in the amount of tackles in games, but they're brushing onto you, they're pushing into you, they're not necessarily giving away free kicks. They're sort of intimidating you, because you don't see, when you look at the stats at the end of the game, when you see the tackles, it's like, you think the game of ballet on grass has taken place, because there hasn't been any, hardly. But they are physical and energetic, and also they put the extra bodies in midfield to counter you as well, and that works because it worked against us last year, even though we finished 5th. Right, back to you guys. Sorry.
I just think that, as a team, I would much rather watch this team under Ange Postecoglou than the team we had 2 years ago under Conte. The only criticism I have with the team now is every now and again we go into a game and we just do not turn up. I don't know what it is. We just look absolutely lackluster. But I would much rather sit and watch the team we have now playing the way we do now than that team that just camp in and do nothing and hope we get the chance to break once or twice in a match and score. Because the amount, I've obviously, a lot of the fans, the Tottenham fans I talk to that go week in, week out, none of them wanted to go to the match under Conte. And nobody was enjoying the football, or very few people were enjoying the football. And it was just draining all the time. Now, I agree with people where they say that, we need to see a little bit more from Ange. But I just wonder sometimes whether it's not so much Ange that needs to change, but sometimes the philosophy of the players as well, where they don't necessarily do what Ange is asking them to do. Because, well, the last couple of games we've seen so much more closing down. We've scored when we've closed down, got the ball and gone on and scored in a quick formation. And to me, that's what Ange ball is. It's that closing down, that making sure you don't give the opposition the chance to go and score over the top or whatever. But I think Ange does change his system a lot more than what some of us think he does. I'm not saying he's perfect, and I'm not saying he doesn't need to change a lot of things, but I just think he's, when it clicks, and when it doesn't click, it looks absolutely terrible. That's the problem.
Right, I want to move on to the next banner, because you guys probably know more about this guy than I do, because I do go out and troll everywhere for Spurs information, as most people know. But this particular guy, I haven't looked at much before he came to the club. And I knew more about Graham Bergveld than I did about this guy. Are you a big fan of Solanke?
I still think the jury's out on him for me.
It will be, won't it?
I thought he did well last night, because we were down to 10 men and he was dropping deep a lot to get the ball and try and carry us up the pitch for a bit. And I thought his hold-up play was pretty good. But again, obviously, he scored goals, tap-ins, really, against Brentford and Qarabag.
Son assist when the keeper parried it.
It wasn't even a great shot. But their keeper wasn't great, honestly. We're one of the worst keepers I've seen play at Spurs, actually. But, so, again, I want to see him do it in these big games, like United coming up. This is what I mean. We played against Arsenal. We lost at home 1-0. Again, it was very predictable the way we're going to lose, I think, in that game. We can't go to United and not get something from that game. And Solanke has to be a big part of that, along with, obviously, I've talked about Johnson and Maddison before. But this is what I mean. In these big games, if we're going to show improvement, as everyone claims, we need to go and get something from these big games. So he needs to I thought last night he was brilliant, but again, you need to look at the quality of the opposition, and they weren't that great. So he just went out, did his job, and there's this hope he just carries on scoring and he scores on Sunday. So, yeah.
Mark, your take on Solanke?
Yeah. Well, he scored. That's 2 he's got now. I mean, I'll be honest. I know I come on here. Well, I don't slag players off, but I sort of moan and groan and.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, no. But Solanke, he was in the right place at the right time. Is he going to be Harry Kane? No.
Similar place to when Maddison had the shot against Brentford and he got the tap in for his first.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if he's going to be that fox in the box, I hope he gets the golden boot, obviously. But I can't see it. I mean, but I agree with Haz. I want him to score. I want him to put one in against Man United. I mean, start turning up in, no disrespect to Qarabag, but turn up in the big games. Because Sunday is a big game. Because I think we're virtually level on points with them, aren't we? Or they're 10th or 11th or something. I think we're both around that. We both haven't had a great start to the season. And I want everyone to do well at Tottenham, but Solanke's all right. Is he going to be Harry Kane? No, but he's the best we got at the moment.
Your take on Solanke, Alan?
Yeah, I think he's doing well. I mean, it took a few games for him to kind of get his bearings, to the new system and the new team. But I think he's a player that has Premier League experience, and I think he's sort of stepped up. In contrast to like Richarlison, who took like a whole season before he ever scored a goal. Solanke has come in and within a relatively short period of time is already starting to score goals. And he presses very well. I think he's the players. I specifically, cite Brennan Johnson. I think that they're getting some confidence because he's there. And yeah, I really happy that he's with us. I think that he's proving to be the right choice, I think.
Right. Soren.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
He
people
certainly
were.
works hard.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were screaming out for Ivan Toney, and I kind of said back then that I didn't think he fitted the system. Was Solanke my first choice? Of course not. But Ange just come out and said that he was the striker that he wanted, and it's showing. You know, he's fitting the system very well, and you know, sort of saying, look, he's done 2 tap-ins. Isn't that how Gary Lineker made his career? Tap-ins from within the box. You know, some of the top players have done that. So if he keeps tapping them in from rebounds, you know, I don't care how he scores. If he keeps scoring, he keeps scoring. And his work rate is phenomenal. His hold-up play is fantastic. He's defending, he's all over the pitch. So yeah, big up to the guy. I hope he gets stronger and stronger. And all these people saying he's no Harry Kane, I hope one day he's better than Harry Kane. Don't think he will be, but wouldn't it be nice? You know, yeah, I mean, you know, and yeah, let's hope he scores against Man United, and then the game after, and the game after, and the game after, and the game after. Don't care, you know, just keep scoring, keep putting the goal in the ball in the back of the net, do your job, and let's all be happy.
We need our wingers to
Although
start
we are
making
both on
more
7
shots.
points. I checked. Arsenal United both on 7 points.
Yeah. Well, I thought we were, but it was sort of 10th and 11th. 10th and 11th.
Go on,
10th and 11th, are we?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were something.
No, well,
Let's
no.
talk about this guy who I am a big fan of, but he's Marmite the Spurs fan base.
I just wanted to say big up to Brian Daigle, the corruption.
Yeah, Brian in the chat.
Yeah, and Bobby K.
On the show when he's available, if you can.
And Bobby K, my brother. This is where it all started for me in YouTube.
Let's all name drop Bobby K.
To the fault.
Well, he's all right. No, he's a good lad.
Thanks for being here in the chat anyway. And if any of you do want to come on the show, we need your details because we need to be able to contact you. So,
I've got all their numbers, Adrian.
Right. If they want to come on. No, I'm not. Everyone who's in here now, you probably haven't, right? But I'm just saying, if people want to come on a show, we have got a list of 40 guests anyway. But I mean, like, I'd like it to be 140, to be honest.
I'll send out invitations now, Adrian.
Right. Okay. Well, just want or give us the details.
Adrian, is there like an A list and like a B list or something?
We're the B list.
There's straight in the barrel when we got you as.
Yeah.
Because Greeks are always late anyway, right? So,
yeah, it's true. We are always late, actually.
Kyriakou time.
Hey, I was here on time for once. Let's not be having that one.
Let's start with Soren Kulusevski, best player this season for us.
No.
Okay.
For the simple reason, I think Van der Ven is more important at the moment. But saying that, Kulu has been immense. I keep saying that word. He's, I would say he's probably the most improved player this season. Because he really has shown a lot more, and he is probably the second most important player at the moment. But I don't think he's the most important or the best. I think Van der Ven has been more important for us.
Has Kulusevski not one of your favourites?
Oh no! Well, I spent all of last season screaming that he should be playing in the middle, so I got my wish eventually. If people
now you're going to have to really big him up.
Yeah. No. The thing is with Kulusevski is it's a weird comparison to make, but when he plays in the middle, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Dembele.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. And I think he might have a bit more in him in terms of end product.
Yeah.
I think he needs more games in the middle for this to happen personally. Like, we need to see it over 10 games. And I think we probably will now because he tends to favour Bentancur, Maddison and Kulusevski in the middle. So we'll probably see it happen. But I thought last night, just first start with that, he came on, he kind of played 2 roles at once. And I thought he was brilliant doing it. I mean, he covered the issue we had with Gray really well, I thought, in the second half. And at the same time, he's the best player, in my opinion, to have with 10 men, because he can get the ball and hold it up for a bit and get a foul, get a corner, a free kick, because his ball retention is probably the best we have in the squad, I think, in my opinion. And like I said, I think the only thing missing from his game is just I just need to see more like end product. But if he's going to play slightly deeper, I'm not expecting him to score like 20 goals or something. Just like, if he gets like 6-7 goals or something.
He got 8 last season. What was a poor season by his standard? Loads of assists.
But he was playing a bit further up. Like if you get that goal tally though, now playing deeper at the same goal tally or similar, like 6 or 7 goals plus a few assists here and there, I'll be happy if he's playing a bit further deeper than Maddison. But I think he's reveling in a sort of new role since he's been moved into the middle in pre-season. It clearly suits him more in this system. Let's just be honest. And I'm just really happy he's playing in the middle finally. So, but I think he's definitely our most improved player. Where's our player of the season? I would say probably yes, actually. Yeah.
The thing
Alan,
is, it's nice to have a few players that are in that position for us to argue about.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it was a case of there's only Kulusevski and that's it, then we would be in trouble.
But I do think, like, I guess I'm different because I was screaming from going in the middle from like game week 3 or something. If you speak to TJ, it was literally from like the first few weeks. I was like, why is this guy not playing in the middle of the park? And it took this long for him to do it. But it's because in the Sheffield United game when he came in the middle and suddenly he looked like way better and he scored that winner. Do you remember? Last minute winner. Since then, I've been crying out for it. But maybe Alan just finally seen the value of him playing in the middle compared to on the wing. But I do think, and it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier about him playing a hybrid position, I would use him as a winger in certain situations, like when he was, like last night, when he needs someone to run into the corner, and he's the best player to do that. Like Johnson's a bit chaotic, so I think Kulusevski has like the best ball retention and ball control in the whole squad, really.
Alan, I actually think that Ange will use him on the wing when he needs to use him on the wing, because we don't know what the future is going to bring in this season regarding suspensions and injuries and whatever. But Kulu's looking good in a sort of hybrid 8-10 role, isn't he?
He is. I think that we saw it a couple of times last season, but we're seeing it a lot more this season. And I think that's why he's standing out. I think this isn't the middle where he really played when
Juventus.
Juventus. Yeah, so he's kind of playing in a position that he's familiar with. And in fact, it's an example of if you play the players in the positions that they are used to playing in, they'll excel for you, which, hopefully is something Ange is looking at. And I think that's why Kulu's been doing so well. He does kind of remind me of a Moussa Dembele when he's in the middle, because he can dribble well and he is very physical. You remember Moussa Dembele was like super physical and he could just dribble through everybody and he was just so good.
He was all right. He was all right.
He was all right.
And and we've never replaced him.
No.
To be honest, we've never truly replaced Moussa Dembele since he left. And it's been difficult without him. And I think that's why Kulusevski kind of shines when he is in that role, because he does do he does embody that kind of role. When he's on the wing, he's okay on the wing, but I think that's just not where he's suited generally. I think he's better in the middle.
I think under Conte, you're playing like an inverted forward, which is why it kind of like it worked. But under Ange, we meant to play wingers, so it's,
exactly. Yeah.
And the thing is, when he's playing in the middle now, he does give Maddison that more freedom to do what he does better, and I think that's why we're now seeing Maddison come alive, because Kulu is kind of a perfect partner for him.
Yeah, that is a good point, Soren, because what I've noticed is like Maddison's got a bit more of the ball against Brentford, and I think the reason for Maddison was coming deeper, not deep to pick up off the penalty area, which used to piss me off big time, but he's coming a bit deeper in midfield to get a bit more space, and Kulu's pushing a bit further forward because he's naturally attacking, and that worked And I'm thinking, is this the way they've been told to play? I don't know, but it seemed that there was an understanding there that when one would be more forward, and I think it was agreed that Kulusevski would be more of the battering ram further forward, and Maddison would just hold the central midfield more. And he likes to hold that point and drift left, isn't he? Because if he goes right, he's going to get in someone else's space anyway, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting the fact that we're discussing there is so much more to come from this team. There's so much more of an improvement, but we've got some good players in that team in the sense that they've got the energy to dig us out of a hole and carry us. And why the others are not on point, because let's be fair, Son's got 2 goals. He's got 3 assists at least. His short game up front has not been great, but he's got it. Johnson has got 3 goals, but tends to drift out of games, right? But they're still contributing, even though we want to see more from them. They're still contributing, and they're still having an impact, So I think that's good. And if these players start getting their game together, we should be even better. Not that we've been great, but I mean, because we haven't been great, but we should be better. I want to move on to this guy, right? He's another one who's been Marmite recently. Take it away, Mark. Vicario. Put you on
Man of the match. Man of the match, in my opinion. If it weren't for him, we'd have lost.
Okay.
No, because, for a start, the first thing he done that impressed me, I thought we were going to be down to 9 men when he came charging out of his area.
So did I.
That's one of the heart attacks.
Lloris, remember that one against Fowler?
That is one of the heart attacks that I had during that game. But was it the second half? He made a fantastic save, absolutely worldy. But he was just saving everything. All right, they never had. Well, that Jorginho, whatever his name was, he's meant to be good, but he couldn't finish his dinner last night. But he just kept us in the game. It's like I said, if he went on top form, we could have easily drawn that game. Easily. So for me, he was man of the match. Without a shadow of a doubt, just for keeping us in the game. With his saves. As like I said, there was that heart in the mouth moment when he did come charging out. So I thought, here we go. And now we got 9. And now it is we'll have to play 1-7.
Yeah, well, if you're going to get sent off for that, at least put the player at row's edge. You know what I mean? Make it worthwhile. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, honestly, he was man of the match, in my opinion.
Alan?
Yeah, he did. He was great last night. He really was. He was vocal. He was more physical. The charging out was very impressive because he did it. He had to be perfect, and he was, because Mark was right. Anything less than perfection in that slide tackle, he's getting a red card, and we're down to 9 men. And who are we putting in goal?
I saw Glenn Hoddle go once. I saw Glenn Hoddle go and go for us once.
Yeah, and we won that game 1-0 with an Ardiles goal.
No.
This was fight Man United.
This
when
was
Joe
where
Jordan knocked out Millie Alexis' teeth with his elbow.
This was where Ellen Road, Adrian.
All right, I'm wrong then.
He might have gone in goal more than once, but I saw him in goal at Ellen Road.
Yeah, but in that kind of situation where suddenly we're putting Solanke in goal or something. I don't know, but Kulu, right? We could put Kulu in goal.
When
Harry Kane went in goal.
Yes.
When Son come off, he gave the armband to Vicario.
Yes. We were talking about that earlier.
Isn't he or something? Yeah.
I don't think he was in that, but maybe he is.
No, because Angela spoke about 4 captains or something the other week.
Oh, all right.
And people were speculating who it was, and eventually some other people worked out was Vicario or something.
He's now been made part of the leadership team.
Yeah, that's
all the older players, the 26, 27-year-olds and Sonny, they're all part of this leadership team. Maybe it's another psychological thing Andrew's doing by doing this. So, do you think that Vicario's a justified criticism? Do you think we've gone over the top on him and all that?
With
or-
the criticism,
Look,
look, I mean,
going over the
Go
top.
on, go on, Alan.
the game before, he kind of he makes questionable moves. What was it? The game before, he kind of came out of the box and put his hand on the
Brentford,
ball.
yeah.
You know, he had one of those moments. You know, I'm sure all goalies have them. And look, I could browbeat him for his corners and set piece ability, but you know, it looks like he's working on it. They had set pieces last night. He didn't let anything in. So, you know, he had a game that I was really happy with. And again, Mark mentioned it, that block he made, you know, fully stretched in the second half. It was, I don't know many goalies that could make that save. You know, maybe one or two others that might have been able to do it. So I just hope that he can perform with that similar level of confidence and tenacity against Man United. That's when we really need him to do it.
I think the criticism, some of it is definitely justified, but I think we tend to go over the top with our criticism at times.
Yeah.
I mean, because like you're a few games into the season. Last season he played every game, and Spurs fans, because VDV finished the season strong, got a couple of classy goals, didn't he? And Romero, when they come to their man of the match, it was Romero or VDV. VDV was out injured for a period of time. Romero was out suspended and injured for a period of time. Vicario played the game. How many goals did he save last year? How many points did he save us? And to me, he was our man of the season. But other fans disagree. That's fine. But to me, he was my man of the season last year. He is a very good goalkeeper. Is he the best? No, he's not. I mean, there are goalkeepers in this. There aren't too many in this league that are better than him, because he hasn't just got the skill set of a shot stopper. He's got exceptional reflexes and shot stopping. I want to see a bit more, which he has slightly improved on, like he did when he first come out. I want him to distribute the ball quicker, because when he did it against Brentford, our attacks, everything seemed like our attacks were quicker and quicker and quicker as well. Like, it just seemed to. I mean, that might have been coincidental. I don't know, but I don't want a goalkeeper like Lloris, who looks like he's going for a Sunday morning stroll inside his penalty area and don't give rid of the ball and can't kick to save his life. Having said that, Lloris was great for us for 10 years, and a great penalty save. The three he did in that year against Arsenal, Leicester, Man City in the Champions League. You know, he got us top four, Lloris. But I think he's can improve. He's only 27, come 28. So he's got. I mean, he could play to. If you're that good and you're a Seaman type or a Buffon type or someone like that, you could play into your mid-30s. So, but we'll see. And we got some good goalkeepers coming through. I'll tell you now, we have got some good ones, but they're not ready, right? But yeah, so he's good. Right, that's good. Now, last
Hang on, you haven't asked me yet.
All right, come on. Sorry,
You haven't asked me either. Really,
Oh, come on, Soren Hasling.
No.
I'm just going to point out a couple of things. So go back to last season. Everybody was moaning that we should have signed Raya. He was the cheap option. His first couple of games for us, he was a bit shaky, and then he was fantastic. Like you say, probably one of the best players for us through the season. This year, he had a couple of shaky moments. All of a sudden, we should have signed David Raya, things came back out again, and now he's looking stronger. I think he is a fantastic goalkeeper, and personally, I would not swap him for anybody else in the league.
Not even David Raya?
No, I would rather have him. I think Raya is certainly a fan. I mean, look, I was one of the ones before we signed Vicario that was screaming to sign David Raya, but I think he deserves our loyalty, and I think he is a fantastic goalkeeper. And the longer he stays with us, the better I think he'll.
I don't know what happened there.
What happened there?
The last word.
Personally, though, I really like the City goalkeeper because he can really play out from the back. Like,
I mean,
I thought I
Martinez
was-
is my favourite.
I thought I was the only one with no electricity.
no, he has had new cables for his internet and all that, Mark. Right? Okay,
See, I would probably take, all things being equal, I would prefer a David Raya or a
Yeah, I prefer Ryan.
Emi Martinez, or
Yeah.
I don't think he, but that again, I'm very happy with Vicario, but I don't think, to say I wouldn't have anybody else. I don't know that I would go.
I think I could name 4 or 5 other keepers I'd probably have over him in the league. Yeah.
The only downside on him, I think, well, our defence don't help him because no one backs him up. I think is when he gets caught out with the corners.
Yeah, he punches it every time as well.
Yeah, but I blame a lot of that on our defence because
The zonal marking, you mean?
yeah, all that rubbish that we do. I mean, I mean, there should be someone, especially at a corner. If there's someone stood right on the goalie,
Yeah.
get a defender on there, shove him out the way. You know what I mean? You know,
I just don't
we-
think he's like when my dad also. Well, it's a good comparison. I know it's off the cuff, but my dad used to not really like Paul Robinson a lot, and Robinson was very highly rated by Spurs fans. I thought he was all right. He was a good goalkeeper.
England's number
I
one.
thought he was a bad goalkeeper. But one of
England's
the
number one. We all used to think that.
the issues my dad have with Robinson, and maybe because I've watched so much football with my dad, at this point I take a lot of what he says because he's a lot older than me. He's watched way more football than me. There's certain things that obviously annoy him, but he really doesn't like keepers that don't come out and just deal with situations and corners and the pieces.
Yeah.
Robinson was one of those keepers he thought he was all right, like he was good, but not like top class, And that's, I think, the difference between Raya and Vicario. Raya will come out and deal with the situation.
That
they're both really good shot stoppers, but for me, a good shot stopper is like a given in the Premier League. You should, if you don't have a good shot stopper in the Premier League, then forget it. You shouldn't be a Premier League goalkeeper.
That annoyed me with the Arsenal game, where where whoever it was who scored for them,
Gabriel
Gabriel scored from 3 yards. Now, if you're between the goalposts and the 6-yard line, that should be the keeper's area. Minimum, that is. That little area there, 6 yards by however wide the goal is. What's the goal? 7 or 8 yards wide? I don't know. But that area there, the 6-yard box, goalpost up to the 6-yard box, the keeper should at least command that area. Any ball that comes into there, because don't forget, that little sort of rectangle bit there, the keeper should command that at least. I mean, the goalies we've had in the past, people like Ray Clements and that, they commanded the whole area. No matter where you were.
But even like, I know Gomez wasn't the best keeper we've had, but he was, at least with him, my dad rated him higher, because he came out and dealt with the situation.
Yeah.
I know he let in some really rubbish goals, but he preferred him because of that. But Robinson, my dad didn't like him. And it's the same scenario with Vicario now, because I go to the games and he's like, why is this keeper not coming out and dealing with the situation? So I hear it like in my ear for the whole 90 minutes, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, but like, he's a great shot stopper. But for me, shot stopper is like a given in this league. Like, you should be a good shot
That's
stopper.
what you should be able to do as a goalkeeper.
Otherwise, you might as well just not.
Well, yeah, you just will play. You just will play outfield if you're not good.
My other issue with Vicario though is it's not the decision making itself. It's more just there's so many scenarios where he can play it long, or he can play a different pass, and just further up the pitch, and he just picks the wrong one. Like even last night, and no one wants to criticize him for this, but he played Bissouma to trouble, and they almost scored
just after the penalty.
He just literally straight after the penalty.
Yeah.
He played. That's all into trouble, and I'm like, just lump it out. Like, I don't know what you're waiting to happen. But I don't know whether that's the instruction of Ange or him doing it this way. Like, I can't confirm that because I don't know. Like, I'm not there. But I seen him do it so many times, and I just wish someone could just lump it out. Last night, it was just, But that's why I think he's good. I'm not saying he's rubbish. Again, like with Graham, I'm not saying he's rubbish or something. He's a good goalkeeper, but I just don't think he's the top quality And maybe he'll learn on the corners. I don't know, but I just don't see it happening at this point.
Hopefully he gets there. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see a lot more good come from this squad of players, actually. Even though we've got the youngsters in there, I'm sort of like, if we can get through games like we've got through them recently, even though we started off badly and everyone was on, everyone was, a lot of people were screaming Ange out and this, that, and the other, which I find, I don't get it, probably because I'm older than you guys, but when you get someone like, you take Ten Hag, right? He's won 2 trophies and half the Man United fan base want him out.
Oh, yeah.
You see what? That's what I'm.
I think the difference at United though is their expectations are much higher than ours. They came from 10 years ago. They won the league. Under Ferguson.
Then I'm glad I'm not a Man United fan. Then
I was just about to say that, Adrian. I was just about to say that.
I'm just saying, but for us, for getting a trophy is like,
that's the holy grail.
But for United, winning FA Cups is like they've been doing this.
If your fan base can't be satisfied with like an FA Cup and then you're never going to be satisfied.
I think
even the most discerning fans would relent in their comments if we won an FA Cup and a League Cup. Wouldn't stop that lot from like those that want Levy out to go. But I mean, like,
I'd faint if we won anything.
Yeah.
You'd faint. You say you'd faint.
Yeah, I'd pass out.
We'd get you some proper drugs instead of the insulin.
Well, Adrian, what I'm saying is, look at United and Arsenal back in the 2000s. Adrian, they were like on their pinnacle, right? You had.
I'm glad they're struggling. I'm glad,
right? But now, because they've fallen so far since then, Arsenal, I think, are starting to get. They might get back to where they were back then. It's possible now. I'm sorry to say it.
We'll move on to them there anyway, right?
Okay, good segue. Let me just finish. But United, because they were so far under Ferguson, they were dominating the league every year. For them to drop off and just win the odd FA Cup here or there, and not be in the title mix every season, pushing it to the end at least, for them it's a big drop off. But the different situation at Spurs is the expectations are lower because we haven't won anything for 16 years. So for us to win something, it's like marked as the Holy Grail, right? This is why United fans are moaning. This is why Arsenal fans have been moaning, because they came from such a high perch 10, 15 years ago. And now they're, Arsenal's different. Like I said, they're probably getting back there. But
especially Man United fans, because you got to remember in the 90s.
Oh, they were
I just got fed up with them winning the league every year.
We did give them the title one year, though. It was nice.
Well, Man City have won 7 out of the last 10.
Yeah.
Well, but they're the same now. And do I want Man City to win the league this year? Yes.
Better than Arsenal win the league.
Yes, because it's better than that.
So onto Man United, because now it's interesting. I mean, I didn't expect us to go down at 10 men yesterday, and I thought being at the game, like, all right, we're going to have changes at half time. We'll be winning this game. We'll be resting legs before the Man United game, and we can't. I mean, I think the only safe bet for Sundays, we definitely Porro and Maddison are going to start. Who do you think is going to start?
I think
Werner. He's got fresh legs.
Oh God, no!
I think he'll put the same team when he played against Brentford, because she just puts the same team out. So unless Son is injured and he puts Werner there, which I don't want to see happen, but I don't know, Son fit or not? I saw he came off Olympic.
He's going to be assessed tomorrow. I think he's fit.
I think he'll go with the same team we played against Brentford. That's what I think he'll do.
And the other thing, I mean, so who do you think will play, Alan? I mean, I definitely think Porro and Maddison are going to start that game, and they didn't play yesterday, so
probably be. Well, yeah, Porro will be playing. Destiny will be playing. I mean, the normal back four. I think he'll have Maddison.
I've only got these listed to some of these, but from the
Maddison, Bentancur, and Kulusevski, I hope. In the middle. I'm okay with Son not playing. He really hasn't been, and maybe for all I know, he's been carrying an injury. I remember a couple years ago he had like a groin injury.
Yeah. He had a hernia.
Yeah, it was something like that, right? And he no one knew. He wasn't performing, and everyone was like, "What's going on with him?" And then suddenly it came out that he had been carrying a long-term injury. So maybe he's doing that again. I don't know. But resting him wouldn't be the worst thing.
Gray's got to be rested, isn't he, guys? After yesterday.
Oh yeah, poor kid needs a rest.
And I think Sar's so fit that I think we may well see him start because he's so
Well, he doesn't get many
No,
Premier
he'll
League.
play Bensko, Madison, and Kulusevski. That'll be his midfield three.
I would love it if Mikey Moore started. Be honest.
Unfortunately, I think we're going to see the prolific German on the left wing.
Oh well, I wouldn't write off Mikey Moore if they decide to rest Son because he's had an impact in these games, but we expect so much more from him.
But
that
most
Son
of his impact was when he played through the middle. I'd argue.
He's
not going to play Mikey Moore.
So you've got that. So like, yeah, we've got an idea of the team that plays. I just want to mention this because I'm going to be updating this and as the season goes on because it's going to play an important part. Where are we? Let me scroll down.
I can hear you clicking, Adrian.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling down. I want to find this. Right. Right. This is going to play a part. We're only 4 games into the season. I want your comments on this.
Oh, the yellow card. I thought that was coming up.
Maddison on 3, Bentancur on 3. They play in midfield. It's virtually impossible not to pick up yellow cards when you're in midfield, right? VDD's on 2, Bissouma's on 2. And the comments on some of these players that pick it up. Maddison's got to learn to shut his mouth for picking up ones for dissent and taking his shirt off for a goal, right?
That's stupid.
I don't blame him for that, though.
I don't know why
that's a ridiculous rule. You should be able to celebrate a goal, like, you know?
Yeah.
I preferred back in the 2009s where they take off their shirt, score a winning goal. I'll probably do that if I was a footballer. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but in all fairness, they made that a bookable offence because for the advertising. Well, no, it was for the advertising and a lot of players. Can you remember like Why Me or Why Always Me?
Yeah, Balotelli, Why Always Me?
Yeah. Because a lot of them, they were written in their sort of native
language,
native tongue, but like they had sort of political messages and all that.
Was that why they did it? Oh.
Yeah.
I'll still take the yellow for doing it if I saw the winner.
Excuses, Jose, excuses. You drop for the next game, mate. You're crap and you know you're crap, right? Okay.
Which opened up my... and so, Jose, are you not available to play at Old Trafford Sunday? If you can play left forward,
left wing,
yeah. If he can play left wing, you're in instead of Werner.
Yeah, I'll play him instead of Werner, 100%.
Yeah,
I think Werner will probably get. I mean, oh my god, has a player ever played worse than Werner at Coventry away, like in that cup game? I mean, but I can see him starting. At least he's out the way on the wing. That's the only thing to say about him. But I mean, like,
we're asking Mikey Moore. I'm with.
Well, I would like Werner. You're on, mate. If you're playing rubbish, we're bringing Mikey Moore on. I mean, to blood Mikey Moore away at Old Trafford. All right, you do it if they're good enough, but is it really fair on the player? And back in the days when we're watching Spurs, you brought these players in on a home game anyway. You blooded them on a home game, but
he could be like a wild card though. I'm just trying to think of every other scenario except Werner playing. That's fine.
Except Werner, yeah.
What could be even worse is if Werner scored a hat trick. You know what I mean? I mean, like, then you.
But I'd shut us all up, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
3-0 Werner hat trick.
Yeah.
I just want him to cross in so that Solanke can do something.
Yeah.
I just want him to do anything.
Yeah.
And be a start.
El tells it. Jose's on the painkillers, right?
Yeah.
So,
Get ready for Sunday, Jose. We might need you on.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure you'll pass the drug test if you're taking paracetamol and all that. You'd have to check whether it's in the league rules.
So, comments on individual players on Maddison, 3 yellow cards. Let's run through these because I'll be adding to these. There'll probably be a few yellow cards Sunday. Hopefully not too many, but Maddison's yellow card. So he's not exactly a physical bruising player, is he? I get the ones for taking one for the team if you pull the shirt back because you have to make a triangle on the shirt. If it's a slight pull, the referees won't give it. But if you make it's like a triangular shape, you'll know if your player has. So like then they'll like pull you up for the free kick, and if that's a normal tackle, but if it's stopping the opponent's really attacking, you'll get the booking for that. The dissent, I don't like it. I like the fact that players don't like it and they rab it off because that's showing a will to win mentality by moaning at the ref and complaining. I get that. But I just don't see where it gets you. It doesn't get you anywhere.
How did Benswell get his 3 yellows?
I don't know. I can't remember. I love him. I love the player, right? But I mean, if everyone's fit, he's my first pick, right? But out of our midfielders, yeah. But you can understand when VDV gets his, right?
No.
But Bissouma, guys, 3 suspensions last year, diving like that. He'd have got a gold medal for that in the Olympics. You know, I mean,
I think it's just a really stupid foul.
This ban thing, the 5 yellow cards and you get 1 game ban, that goes up to about Christmas, is it? January?
Yeah, you don't get released from that, and then if you get to that stage, they're wiped away.
Yeah.
These players are not. They're not. Bentancur and Maddison are not going to get away with it. This is what I'm saying. He needs to find blends in his midfield because it's not just injuries; it's suspensions.
Well, we've only played five Premier League games so far.
But Odegaard should be back mid-October during the break. The international breaks are here. Right, so the 6th to the 14th.
Our international break.
We've got a show on the 13th. The MF is doing for Julie Welsh. She's wrote successful books about Spurs.
I know who's about. I know who's about.
But that's during the winter break. It'll be on a Sunday the 13th. So she'll be coming on. It might just be a 1-to-1 that Ian's doing. It's up to him. He can do what he wants. Right. So.
Can I plug a book that I'm reading at the moment?
What, Gary Mabbott's book?
Yes, autobiography. I've done 3 chapters now, which is amazing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to. I don't read anything.
Were you going for the phase where you're asking your grandson, "What's that word? What's that word?" You know, when you were a kid, and they go, "What's that word, man?" It's like,
he's only 9 months old, and if he can read already, then I am very impressed.
You never know. You might have a genius on your hands. Oh, shit. Yeah, wrong.
You never know.
That was the yellow card thing. Right, that's where we want to be. What do you think of? I can't remember Bentancur's yellow cards. There'd have been tackles and shit. Like, they weren't dissent. You know.
I think he got 1 for dissent, actually.
I think he did. Maybe.
And I think the other 2 are probably ones that he had to take for the team. Yeah,
Bissouma for the team, usually shirt pulling or something like that, or he's practicing his next dive. Vicario's one, that would have been for holding on the ball too long when we're hanging on for dear life. Like,
no, Vicario got the yellow. Didn't he get a yellow because of the handball?
No.
He didn't.
There's nothing for that. He got nothing for that.
Vicario's yellow is when the Arsenal player grabbed him.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Was
it Timber?
Timber. That's it.
And Timber should have been sent off because he got the earlier tackle on Porro on our right.
Yeah. And
that tackle was a nasty fucking tackle, but wasn't deemed to be out of control and reckless, which is what they go by. I'm never going to get the hang of the yellow card and some of these penalty decisions in the box.
I think you just make it up as you go along, to be honest.
It seems that you're allowed to foul anyone above the waist and it goes unrecorded, right? You know, and you only get done for below the waist. Yeah, if half these fouls were committed on a centre circle, they'd have been given. You know, I mean, like, it's just a consistency. Well, unless you guys got anything else.
I guess, are we going to talk? I know because you got Tuesday stream. I'm thinking.
Well, what about
for us? Do you guys think he's going to rest players in that game as well?
I think I've posted a bit on another sheet on Word about.
I don't know anything about them, so.
I know we did the show, but I can't remember.
Follow them intently.
I know we did the show that I was excellent at with my geography knowledge, but where is that team?
Hungary.
Hungary, is it? Oh, all right.
And it's 5:45 kickoff, by the way.
Yeah, it is 5:45 kickoff.
4-6.
Jose, behave. You know I don't speak German, right? Come on.
What did he put in there?
Sorry?
Oh, no, that's Latin, isn't it? All them drugs and that's normally Latin words, isn't they?
Phil, where are your predictions? Jose's saying. He'll have a look. Phil's going to have a look, Jose. Let's go down to these. Yeah. Don't forget your predictions. Peter. Right, guys. I want to thank all of you in the chat. We've got about 40 in here tonight. You've been fantastic. I loved your comments. You know, I'm not going to go for a name you all. Same with the guests. I'm not going to name the guests. You've been great. If you could like, subscribe, and post a comment to our videos, that would be excellent. If you don't, well, fair enough. Nothing we can do about that, is there? So we're not necessarily like mad for members as such. That doesn't mean to say we don't want you to do what I've just suggested. But, you know, we pride ourselves in being a mature and sensible, discerning, fact-based Spurs group. And that's the way we're going to be. Got a little bit prickly in the chat tonight, guys, at times. If you could just tone it down a bit, that would be good. We're not that sort of a show, yeah. And you're all well-intentioned Spurs fans, so don't get involved in hate, because I don't, right, at all, at any time. So, yeah. So that's that. I want to thank my guests, and they'll be coming regulars. They're all regular friends of the show. All the guests we have on, you know, they'll all be invited back. I shall meet you guys in the back room, and I shall play you out with this.